Guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today on this video, I'll explain you regarding API testing and what is that fundamental of that API testing, and I'll show you how can you test that API from Postman, and I'll try to explain that API testing from all point of view while you are testing that APIs. Then what point you need to remember. So all things I'll explain. So first thing is like let me tell you the API fundamental. So this video will help you to understand that API more better way. And so here I'll try to explain that API components and like how to test that API, what kind of assertion you need to perform while testing that API. All things I'll try to explain here. Okay. So what is that API basically? So API stands for Application Programming Interface, which acts as an like set of rules or protocols that enable that different software or different application to communicate each other. Okay, so through that API we can facilitate that data exchange, and also we can do that interaction between the various system, that allowing them that they can work together seamlessly. So like that basically the definition is like it is kind of set of rules or protocol that allowing to that different software to be communicate with each other. So like let me try to explain in more like layman way. Suppose I have one application A. I want to integrate that Google Map inside that my application. So should I write that whole code from scratch? The answer is no. I shouldn't do that. So instead of that, what I should do, I just navigate to that Google Map portal. I'll try to search for that APIs. I will purchase that API and API key, and I'll write that one code that hold that API key and that APIs. And now when that user will navigate to my software, so they can also able to access that Google Map. So like that way, I'll integrate that both software in a like seamless way. So user can able to like see, they cannot understand like that from UI perspective that both applications are together, but that backend perspective, that application has been fetched from that Google server. If there any problem happens in Google servers, that my API will not work and that map will be not loaded. So like that way that APIs work. Due to that API, so many applications are there in currently like in market, because that no one on that day they are writing that code from scratch. Instead of writing code from scratch, they are taking that APIs. Okay, now how that API works? API actually receive the request or input data from that like our like API server, respective API server, and that what kind of output data like that data they are giving to that particular server. Now suppose that a client is there. I am a client, I need their Google Map API. So what should I do? I'll share some request with that some kind of payload, and that request will goes to that Google Map server, and then Google Map server gives us that some response. That response I'll try to show that inside my UI. Okay, like that way that API works. So there are so many API types are there. Most popular is REST API. Currently, that fast API is very much using all over the industry. Also, we have SOAP API, GraphQL. So these all are popular API types, and all APIs have their own like pros and cons. That thing, like it will be if I try to explain that thing, then that video will be much more longer. Okay. Now, before going to that API, let us understand what is the URL for API request. So URL stand for Uniform Resource Locator. That means it will try to locate that our resources in a uniformity way. So without URL, you can't do that API communication. Okay. So they provided the address bar for that specific API endpoint. Through that endpoint, we can access that our respective features. Okay, so URL have like some components, like first is protocol, like we are using HTTP, HTTPS. So those things comes under protocol. Then we have domain in the sense of some domain name like www.google.com. So that is kind of domain name. Then we have path like that www.google.com/search query string. So these things are comes under path and query parameter. And like we have some basic HTTP method like get method, post method, put method, delete method. Those things are HTTP method. So here I have given one example like HTTPS, that is our protocol. Then api.example.com, that is a domain. Then products is a path, and then after that query parameter ID equal to like 101 and limit equal to 5. This is our query parameter. Now components of API request and response. So we have like what kind of components are there while we are sending that API and we will receive the response. So for that we have two components, like main is header and that is body, and that this is our request component. And for response component we have status code and our response body that we are receiving. Okay, so mainly in API testing we are mainly checking that status code and what kind of request parameter we are receiving from that client side, that also we are checking. Okay, now what is API testing, guys? So API testing is a software like development part where we are checking that API functionality. We are checking that this API is meeting our quality standard or not, and we are also checking that we are verifying the data accuracy, functionality, and security of that APIs. So mainly here we are performing that checking and reliability, functionality, and security of that APIs. Okay. So what is the purpose for that? Purpose in the sense of to here we are verifying the data accuracy. We are checking that communication between the two services, and also we are trying to locate the defect early in the development cycle. Okay. So what is the benefits of API testing, guys? So from API testing, it will be more faster, more reliable than UI testing, and also it detect the defects or issues more earlier compared to that UI testing. Okay, and that's why API testing is plays a very crucial role. We can do that API testing both in manual as well as that automated way. So there is some types of API testing. First is like our functional testing. Functional testing, here we are ensuring that our endpoint should work as expected. So by that help of different like input value, we are checking that our response. Another is load testing. So for that we are using mostly different tools like JMeter, load runner. So we are like giving that high number of API requested, and we are bombarding that server with that, and we are trying to get that API response under high load condition. Then we have security testing. Security testing in the sense of here we are verifying the data protection, and like in that API we are passing that authorization token API keys. So we are trying to mimic that API keys, we are trying to fake that API keys, and we are trying to access that API. So like that way we are checking that security of that API. Then in automation testing we are using like various framework like REST SEO, ROSI. So through that framework we are mimic that API data, and we are checking that our status code as well as that assertion response mostly. But sometimes we are also using Postman for that. So it will help to reduce that API testing time. Now, this video is basically explain you regarding that how to do API testing by that help of one tool that is called Postman. There is lots of tools are there in market, but most good tool is like Postman. I'll explain why Postman is most useful tool. So this video I'll try to explain that whole core features of Postman, and I'll try to show you that how you can do API testing. So before starting that, let me tell you some basic things regarding that Postman. Inside that Postman, we will pass that our request, we will pass that URL, and we are selecting the method. Then we are setting that headers, and then we are checking that response body, and we are checking the status. Okay. So through that Postman also we are writing that script, So we can write that JavaScript for that. So like that way also we can do, and we can check that we can validate that our status code as well as that response body count. So let me show you the Postman. So first we need to navigate to that Postman website, official website, and here this is that our Postman official website. You need to log in with that your Postman. Then we have branch of option like workspace, private API, network integration, and as well as a report. Inside that workspace, you can see your following workspace here. You can create your own workspace. Like let me create that workspace like demo, and that workspace will be created. Inside that you have branch of like options, inside that API demos, API development, API testing, API security. So these things are there. So I'm selecting, by default it will be selected as a blank workspace. Then I'll click that next. So let me give some name like that, and this is for the personal uses, and I'm click on create. So it will take some time. So your workspace has been created. Now here we have branch of option. First is like collection. Collection in the sense of where you are collected that APIs. It is like a folder where you can added that multiple APIs inside that. Then we have environment. Environment in the sense of here you can do that global variable. That variable you can take from anywhere. Okay. You can put that your base URL inside that variable, and instead of writing that base URL again and again, you can just call that your base variable here. Then we have history section. So here you can get that all history. Then we have extra section, add-on section. So here you can add that these many add-ons. So first thing is like flow. So here if you go to that flow, then you can add that your collection. You can do that like this kind of canvas, and through that canvas it will API will be executed. Okay, so let me do that basic thing. First thing is like new. So I'll do that HTTP here. I'm doing that HTTP. Now we need some API URLs. So for that I'm navigating to my blog spot. So inside my blog, I have like listed some best APIs or best practices. So this is that one of the good website that this website actually helps you to understand the status code. So let me take this website example, means like URL. I'm copying it and I'm pasting it here. I'm using get method for that. We don't need to pass any kind of authorization, header and anything. So by default this header will be auto selected. If I click on that hide, then that header section will be hidden. Okay, then inside that these all are endpoints. We can pass that endpoints here, and we can get that value. Let me pass that 413 endpoint here. Okay, so this is our base URL, base URL. Now I need to pass that 413 endpoint, and I'm sending that our APIs request. So I'm getting what response here. See that response 413 response, and see this is the 413 response, and what kind of data I'm getting from server. This is our data. Okay, so like that way we can validate that response here. So in that API we have branch of response like 100 response. So this response you can read it from here. So we have 100 response like continue processing. So these all are 100 section. Then we have 200 section. Mostly we should get that 200, 201, 202, 204 like this response. And if any problem happens, then we'll get that 300 to 500 API response. Okay, 500 mainly like it will happen for like server side. 404 mostly like you guys have seen, that means it happens from our side. So through that site you can get that response. So let me pass that 200 endpoint. So I'm getting the 200 response, and I'm also getting this data. Now this is that a simple data. I can save it. So it will add that here as a request name, and collection name should be, I'm giving one name like demo. Okay. So inside that the demo collection, I have added this API. Now let me show you that some more API like this. So this is GitHub for that Postman side. So here have some like things are there. So this is quite complex to looks like, but let me show you that how can I test this API. So first I'm copying this base URL. I'm navigating here. I'll add that a new request. So here I'll paste that our URL, base URL. Then what happened here? We have we can check that list of books by that help of this endpoint. So I'm passing this endpoint here, and I'm sending that data. And before sending the data, we can use get or get method for checking the data. So I'm sending that our request, and I'm getting a response as in 200, and I'm getting some data. See, these all are JSON data that I'm getting from that server. Now let me take this as an example. This is post method I need to use. Orders, need to pass that. So here I'm getting one error called missing authorization header. So that means is here I need to pass that our authorization token. So how can I get that authorization token? So for that I need to do that another API called API client. Then I need to pass this client name and email. Then I'll get that authorization token, and that token will be validated for 7 days. So let me save this for now. I'll create a new API request. So here I'll pass that same our base URL here. Then I'll put it as in post, and then I will pass that as an API client. So once it is done, I'll pass that this JSON data inside my body section. It should be raw, and inside that body section, giving some random name, and I'm sending this data. So I'm getting an access token to pass inside here. I'll go to that header section. I'll put that value, and I'll change that as an authorization. Then I'll pass this as an header. Now I'm sending that value. So I'm getting 200. So I'll change that value to post, and I'm getting that created as in true, and this is our order ID. So like that way I can test that our API as well as that I'm validating the response. So this is that one way. So like that way we can test that our APIs. So if you navigate to that my blog here, and if you click on this, so here I have put it like list of that demo APIs. So you can check with that, and like that way I have also referred that a very popular API testing course for that you can see. And let me show you some more interesting thing here. Like this is our base URL. How can I like pass that URL for every time? So I need to provide that a environment variable for that. So here I'll add that a environment variable. I'll select that environment. I'm giving that variable name as in base, and it should be default type. That is our initial value, and it will be, yeah. So I'm saving that one, so that my variable has been added here. Okay, when I get to that, this is our variable name base. Okay, now if I navigate to here, instead of that I am passing that our value. So it should be dollar, and then inside the two curly braces I will pass that our variable here. Okay, but here it is not showing that variable because it is not stored. Let me navigate to that our environment section, click on that new environment, and it should be export. That is export option. This is our variable. It should be stored and it should be same. Now variable should be base set as a variable, so it should be name should be base and scope should be global. So I'm setting this base as a global variable. I'm navigating to my collection, and here I'm selecting that our base variable. Now if I pass that same thing, so I'm getting some error like would not send the response. Okay, for that we need to use that Postman desktop agent. And then we can like get that API response. So guys, like this way we can test that API and we can send that our all like API response, and we'll get that response like details from that our response section. So this is that on demonstration. Now in that next video I'll like log in with that my Postman desktop account, and I'll try to show you that all functionality regarding that Postman. So make sure that you subscribe my channel, help me to grow on YouTube. Please subscribe my channel and like that video. So this video is for like basic API understanding purpose, and for next video I'll make that more details way to understand that API much more better, and I will explore that Postman tool. So this is that browser-based tool. Browser-based tool has some limitation, but when we navigate to that our desktop tool, desktop application, then we don't have any kind of limitation for that using. So guys, thank you for your valuable time. Thanks for watching this video. Please, I hope that you will subscribe my channel, like this video, and if any kind of suggestion is there, please comment down. I will try to give that answer. Thank you guys. Thank you. Bye bye.